There once was a mage, a human by birth, but one who had no trace of humanity in his way of life. His only reason for being was to gather all knowledge, which was to be stored in his magical library. But he alone couldn't tend to it, for his time was to be dedicated to research and experiment. For that reason, he created a helper, a homunculus, with the purpose of maintaining and handling the library. And so I did. For uncounted years, I breathed for the sole purpose of memorizing books and their contents, to sort the information, for it to be available to the mage in the most convenient of ways. But that life couldn't last forever. The mage was growing older and weaker, for however powerful, no human could escape erosion, nor fight the relentless advance of time. With his last remaining energy, he gave life to his grimoire and burned down the magical library, sealing its contents in what will be the last of his creations. Left without a place to belong, nor any task to dedicate myself to, I just laid. I laid down on the burnt soil for so long. At some point, I was surrounded in vegetation. I remained an empty shell of a human figure, surely breathing, but not alive in the slightest. Until one day, a stranger's voice woke me from my sleepless rest. By the time I opened my eyes, a beautiful figure was silently sitting at my side, facing the direction of the rising sun. His black hair was gently being motioned by the wind, creating an image worth a painting. A few moments that were worth an eternity of words. The figure slowly turned to face me, his bright red eyes sparkling in the dim light of dawn. And with the calmest of voices, he asked,
"Why do you lay there?"
"I hold no reason not to," I promptly responded in turn. The figure looked away, and the comfortable silence went on for a few more minutes as the dawn-tinted sky illuminated us in warm colors, but was then interrupted again as the figure asked, while still looking far in the distance,
"May I be your reason?"
The words that I had wanted to hear most for all these interminable years were just now uttered, as if it was the most mundane of occurrences. In my mind, it was as if time had stopped for a moment, and yet, it felt like the ever-still clock had finally begun moving again. While still laying in the grass and staring up at the sky, I thoroughly explained my situation to my unexpected visitor. It had been a long time since I'd last spoke to someone, so I found myself telling more than I intended to. But the next thing I noticed, the sun was beginning to set. During that whole time, the figure remained quietly listening, while staring at the landscape which surrounded us with a somehow melancholic smile adorning his face. Once I was finally done talking, he looked at me again, his face now smug and brighter, those shiny red eyes glistening as those of a man who caught a glimpse of an endless fortune within his reach. He wore that giveaway signal, just as if it was his own.
"Well, I just so happen to enjoy reading much, and this seems like a lovely spot for my new personal library. So I shall ask again, may I be your reason?"
For the first time since the day I came into this world, I felt my tears gently streaming down my cheeks. "Will you not just eventually die and leave me alone again?"
I don't think there is any life form on this planet as bad at dying as I am.
"Will you not just abandon me at some point and move on with your life?"
How could I not make use of such a convenient spot? I'll be here at least once a week, so long as I'm not working elsewhere.
Will you not just forget me? All the same, sometime in the future. Can I really trust you? At that point, he stopped talking, and he positioned himself on top of me so that his face would be closely facing mine. His black hair drooping down on my cheeks, almost catching my tears, and his red eyes intensely staring into mine. Then slowly, his left eye began losing color. That beautiful bright red slowly faded into a silver I was all too familiar with. It was the color of my own eyes, with his now heterochromatic irises still locked onto mine. He finally spoke again.
This eye will be a permanent mark of my promise, so that I will be reminded of you every time I shall happen to catch my own reflected image. I'm sorry I'm late. You will never be alone again.
That was both the first and the last time I had ever cried. Yet, I feel like I shed enough tears for a lifetime.